He's amazing because he gives you the between the tackles power runner, but he also has rare speed to take it the distance.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday, which means we've got a lot to get into. My themes from the Sunday that was Week 10 in the NFL. Then I'll give you the 2 or 3 takeaways from every game. I know a lot of you have already seen the highlights, but the things that really matter that you need to take away moving forward. And then, of course, the 11 Oaks hungriest performance of the week. Tomorrow, we'll have an even money betting podcast. Those teaser legs are rolling, and we'll have my power rankings and my recap of tonight's Packers-Eagles game, which, by the way, I will be in the booth with my guy, Kevin Harlan. And I guess a lot of you might not be able to watch it if you still have YouTube TV and there's no ESPN ABC. So check us out, westwood1sports.com. But first, it's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross, what were your overall themes from Week 10 across the NFL so far?
Well, before we actually get into the games, Jack, I did just want to take a moment to discuss former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue passing away at age 84. He was the commissioner from 1989, when I was 10 years old, till 2006, which was just about my last year in the NFL. 07 was my last year in the NFL. And, you know, it's very popular to not like the commissioner, to boo the commissioner of different sports. And I get that. I would just like to say my interactions with him, I thought he was a really good man, good person. And also, you can't argue with the success and the popularity of the league under his stewardship. And I feel like I've benefited from that. My family's benefited from that. So thank you to Paul Tagliabue and his family. And obviously, just wanted to acknowledge him before we move on to the games that he helped make so popular. You know, the first one, and I feel like this is like an every week thing this season, Jack, but special teams, again. You know, I mean, the Texans were like a special teams disaster. Somehow they were able to come back from that and still win the game, but they had all kinds of bad special teams things going on. And then Parker Washington returns a punt for a touchdown. And then the Cleveland Browns. I think in the first quarter, they allowed both a kickoff return for a touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown. Just a brutal, brutal special team performance by the Browns, and it's just not acceptable. But special teams were a major factor, I should say, in a lot of these games. A lot. You know, one of the things that jumped out to me, well, I'll get to the last one at the end, but don't let me forget to talk about the Vrabel situation. It felt to me, Jack, like there was a lot of YOLO balls, you know? A lot of just throwing the ball up for grabs. It felt like J.J. McCarthy had a couple of them. Felt like Tua Tagovailoa had a couple of them. Now, on some level, the Tua ones were arm punts, and it didn't end up, you know, hurting them that badly. But I just feel like I've seen more really bad interceptions this year than I've seen in a while. And certainly yesterday, every time you're watching any of these games, you know, the ball's in the air and the defender can almost call a fair catch. So that's one that jumped out. The late games being a blowout. At one point, the combined score of the three late games was 78-3 in the first half. It was just not competitive. That's a bummer because you always want to have at least one game that you think is competitive. Now, kudos to the Niners. They did make it 21-14, so they made a game of it for a little bit at least. But that was one that jumped out. A couple others for you. Quarterback's legs are such a big factor. I mean, you think about Jackson Dart and what his running ability, especially down near the goal line, has done for the Giants. He had 2 touchdowns. They're up 17-7, I think. They probably would have won the game if he didn't get hurt. Daniel Jones used his legs very effectively in that game over in Berlin, especially late for the Colts to get a gigantic victory. And then even Davis Mills. Davis Mills is out there running the ball, down the sideline and into the end zone for the go-ahead score. So I think if you have a quarterback that doesn't use his legs at all, man, he better be really good in the passing game. Really good. Because it's such an advantage to have a quarterback with legs like that. And speaking of legs, there were a lot of long touchdown runs. And, it's fine to have a sustaining back. And I don't think breakaway speed is the be-all, end-all for running backs. But it's pretty nice to have a Travion Henderson for the Patriots, a Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions, a Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. Pretty darn nice to have guys like that. The last thing I would say, we could maybe talk about this during the game, but I do think things are changing in terms of clock management that people may or may not be noticing. Mike Vrabel, basically, the Patriots are at the 1 yard line. He basically gave up a down just to take more time off the clock. I think it's smart. Now, they almost didn't score any points, and they almost had to kick a field goal instead of a touchdown. Either one would have been really poor, obviously, and then he would have been second-guessed forever. But I still think the process there is good of thinking, you know what? Worst case scenario, we're going to be up by 3 or whatever the score was at that time. We're not giving Baker Mayfield or the Bucs a chance to get points here at the end of the half. More great stuff right after this. If you guys don't have the Game Time app on your phone at this point, what are we even doing? I've been telling you guys about Game Time for years because I love it, because my wife loves it, because we even have our friends that have it on their phone. The number one reason for me is just to be able to see all the events that are in your area. Or if you're going to a city like Vegas or wherever, to see what events are there. Plus, then when you actually want to get tickets to something, you know you have the lowest price guarantee. You know that you can see the view from the seat. Plus, the fees are actually included. No surprises. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ROSS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create an account, redeem code ROSS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. I don't understand the science. Maybe it's because they're originally from Canada, but Labatt beer tastes even better in the winter. It is so good. And with Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, just go to the website, snap a photo of your receipt, upload it instantly to rack up points for exclusive merch. You can get points for every purchase at any store, bar, stadium, any size, any product. It doesn't matter. Anywhere you're buying Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Go to rewards.labattusa.com to sign up.
All right, Ross, we're going to move on to the games here. One he talked about a little bit earlier, the Colts, they get the knockout punch to win in overtime against the Falcons, 31-25.
So Jonathan Taylor was insane. He's been insane. I was thinking very strongly about giving him the 11oaksfarms.com/Ross hungriest performance of the week. Career high 244 yards, including the game-winning touchdown in overtime, including an 83-yard touchdown. He's amazing. because he gives you the between the tackles power runner, but he also has rare speed to take it the distance. You know, it was not a great game for Daniel Jones because he had some turnovers, some fumbles, interception. He was under duress a lot again as the Falcons pass rush. 7 sacks, 16 pressures, forced a couple turnovers, but Falcons still lost for a couple of reasons. Number one, Michael Penix really struggled. I'm not sure about him yet. I'm not sure about Michael Penix. That Falcons offense is struggling, but Daniel Jones, such a great sign. Even though maybe it wasn't his best performance, he came up big when it mattered the most at the end of regulation and in overtime. A couple of clutch throws to Tyler Warren, who was incredible late. The Colts have a bunch of dudes, Pearson, Pittman, and Down. I mean, the Colts, I keep telling you guys, they are for real. And their win with a Jags loss really put them in a good spot.
Talking about a bad spot, New Orleans, they hit Carolina a brutal loss for their playoff hopes. 17-7 New Orleans win.
Right. Well, you can't lose that game if you're the Panthers. We all recognize that. A home game against the Saints. Frankly, the Panthers didn't feel to me like a playoff team anyway, but they're going to be in the mix, and I think that's a step forward. I think the real question they have to figure out is where they're at with Bryce Young. It does not feel to me like he's worthy of a big extension. I wouldn't do that. So they're going to have to kind of figure out and decide what they want to do in that regard. Let's give some credit to Chase Young and that Saints defense. They really slowed down Rico Dowdle and then by extension the Panthers. But the Panthers, I mean, that's a massive egg to lay after you won on the road at Green Bay. It totally diminishes your win at Green Bay. It's like it didn't even happen because you even it out by losing a game you should have won. The most important takeaway from this game, though, Tyler Shuck looked really good. I mean, his second start in the NFL, Tyler Shuck played, I thought, now they only scored 17 points, but I thought that was a major step forward for Shuck.
Next game was the Bears moving to 6-3, 24-20 win against the Giants in snowy Chicago.
And of course, Jack, I had the Giants getting 3.5 points on the Even Money betting podcast. You know, the Giants blew yet another double-digit lead. I think that's 4 this year. Not a good look for Brian Daboll and the coaching staff. The game really changed on one play. Jackson Dart fumbled. He bobbled the ball and fumbled and got concussed on the same play. And you kind of knew then, uh-oh. It did not feel like Caleb Williams. Feels like this is the theme for a lot of these guys this year. Didn't feel like Caleb Williams played great until he got it done late on those last 2 touchdown drives with his arm, his legs. You know, I think I've said it many times on this show, Jack. I know I've said it many times in general that I don't think Jackson Dart will make it through the season. And I don't. He just takes on too many collisions that you can't do at this level. But his legs are such an important aspect of their offense. It's hard not to utilize them. By the way, how about Gardner Johnson, CJ, 2 games for the Bears? I think he has 3 sacks, making plays all over the place.
The Texans, they pull 1 game within 500 with a 36-29 home win against the Jags.
And I think I debated this, but when you outscore the other team 26-0, you've got to be the 11oaksfarms.com/Ross hungriest performance of the week. Genuine Wagyu beef, Angus beef, heritage breed pork, and free-range chicken, all locally raised but available nationwide online. I love it. Look for a video on Facebook and Instagram at Ross Tucker NFL soon about my delicious 11oaksfarms.com/Ross. The Texans saved their season. Now, they still might not make the playoffs, but you lose that game, it's pretty much over. Win that game, and you are still in the mix. 26-0 in the fourth quarter. Davis Mills throwing the ball over the place, running all over the place, but that defense, led by Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, incredibly impressive performance by the Texans to save their season late in that game against Jacksonville. You know, the other things that jumped out, I mentioned earlier the Parker Washington punt return touchdown. He also had a crazy touchdown catch. Absolutely crazy. But for the Jags, that, put them in the Panthers category of you cannot lose that game. Like, that will be the difference between the Jags making the playoffs or not. That game right there, mark my words.
Next game up was a shocking one. Miami, they blow out the Bills, 30-13.
And I've been saying it on Buffalo radio, Jack, for years. The Bills lose at least one game like this every year that you just can't lose. If you're trying to win a division, you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you're trying to be the number one seed, you can't lose a game like that. I mean, to the Miami Dolphins. The thing about it is, it really wasn't even that competitive. Devon Achane had a nice day, especially in the fourth quarter with breaking out a couple runs. Tua got Jalen Waddle involved. He also had those two YOLO arm punts. The difference in the game was the Bills' turnovers, especially the Josh Allen interception in the end zone. The fumble, it was like a 15-yard tush-push quarterback sneak, and then Josh fumbled. By far, by the way, the Dolphins' best defensive performance of the season.
Baltimore, they're getting back in stride with a big 27-19 road win in Minnesota.
Slow start again for the Ravens for the second consecutive week. I mentioned already that J.J. McCarthy had some bad interceptions. He had some bad ones. He's mobile. He runs around, uses his legs. I think that's a positive. But, man, he had some bad picks. The Miles Price fumbles on the kickoff return really hurt the Vikings also. I don't know if they lost both of them, but he fumbled back-to-back kickoff returns. I mean, that is hard to do. That does not happen very often. And the Ravens defense, they're not great, but they're a lot better than they were earlier in the season. That's for sure.
The Jets, they had just 169 yards on offense. They still beat the Browns, 27-20.
Well, and obviously you have a kickoff return and a punt return touchdown. That's going to be the difference in the game. However, and by the way, I thought Dylan Gabriel did some positive things. He threw a couple touchdown passes, but not once but twice he took sacks on fourth down. You can't do that. I mean, you just can't do that. I did like that Gabriel used his legs and ran the ball more later on in the game, but it was kind of too little, too late. For the Browns, some of those penalties and mistakes, I mean, defensive holding on Devin Bush when Justin Fields was never going to actually throw the ball unless a guy was wide open. Then Cam Thomas jumps on a hard count. I mean, when the Jets were never going to snap the ball, it's wild. Will McDonald had a huge game for the Jets. Breece Hall, the catch and run for a touchdown, that was like the offense for the Jets, but it's pretty much all they needed.
The game of the day did hold up and the game of the day did live up to expectations. New England, they hold on late to get a big win in Tampa Bay, 28-23.
So you're going to go live up to expectations and New England hold on, but you had both those thoughts in your head, so you said did hold up.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that weird how the human brain works? Like, how is that? Like, that is so interesting that your brain, you knew what you wanted to say, but you were already thinking about like 2 words later, so your brain combined them. Like, is that like a malfunction? Like, I mean, obviously it happens to people all the time, but it's just weird that our brains do that sometimes. Like that happens to me on TV sometimes, whatever, radio. It's really a weird thing. I don't like a computer wouldn't do that. But then again, computers can't do all the things our brains can do either.
Cannot. This is a really profound thought at 7:08 on a Monday morning.
Hey, that game was awesome. Travion Henderson, 2 long house calls. Drake May remains an MVP candidate. Wait a minute. Okay, here's my note for this game. May remains MVP candidate other than bad MVP. Oh, other than bad interception.
So you have your own.
We're doubling up the brain power here. That's actually written down. I take notes, right, during the games and notes on what I want to say about the games. I'm like, May remains MVP candidate other than bad MVP. I'm like, who's bad MVP? Bad interception in the end zone. I don't know if you saw this, Jack, but on social media, I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. Jack and the show handles at Ross Tucker Pod. He threw a bomb to somebody. It was beautiful. And I said, I post, you could have seen last year that Drake May was elite when, because they had the worst O-line, worst receivers, and he still made all these plays. The next play, he threw the interception in the end zone. I hit send. I hit post. He throws the interception in the end zone. The very next play. So I had to reply and be like, sorry, Patriots fans. I'm pretty confident that interception was on me. So funny. Anyway, I thought Baker had a nice game. Baker Mayfield still had 3 touchdown passes. Obviously not enough. But the Travion Henderson house calls, that Vrabel end of the first half, that's next level, dude. More teams are going to look into that. That was next level. And guess what? It gave them a real chance, a very real chance to win the game. But if they didn't score a touchdown there, it could have been the difference the other way.
Seahawks defense, they just shut down Arizona. 44-22 Seattle win.
So I don't think I've ever seen this before in my life. The Seahawks had 2 defensive touchdowns. Both times, it was Knight hitting Brissett right before he threw it, the ball bouncing, DeMarcus Lawrence picking it up and taking it back for a touchdown. Twice in the same game. It almost looked like it was like the same play. That can't happen. I mean, that you can't have that. I know Brissett, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's one of the issues with Brissett. He is a long release. You can't let that happen if you're Jacoby Brissett. It was 28-0 before the Cardinals could even settle in or breathe. Seahawks barely threw the ball. Darnold had a long touchdown to Smith and Jigba. They didn't have to because they ran it better than they had been, which is a good sign. Don't go anywhere. Got to pay some bills real quick. Loving the ability to watch seemingly every game these days online with streaming services. There's a new one. Whether it's NFL Sundays or college football games like Big Noon Saturday, NASCAR, MLB postseason, and more, with Fox One, you get it all. Live. Edge of your seat plays, jaw-dropping, high-octane moments, and that feeling like you're right in the action. I mean, listen, Super Bowls, NCAA games. I mean, think about all the stuff you can get. Fox One, we live for live, streaming now. How do you not love everything about game day? The passion, the noise. I don't care if you're tailgating, you're hosting people at your house, watching with your family. I don't care if you're watching by yourself. Choose Smirnoff because no game day is complete without the world's #1 vodka. When it comes to the NFL, we do game days. Smirnoff helps bring fans together to cheer on their favorite team. Grab a bottle of Smirnoff at your local retailer and head to Smirnoff.com to find recipes of delicious cocktails perfect for game day. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age.
The Rams, they get a crucial win in the fight for the NFC West, 42-26 against the Niners.
This Rams offense, led by Matthew Stafford, is unstoppable right now. I'm telling you, we'll see what happens with the Eagles tonight, but Rams and Seahawks might be the two best teams in the NFL. They might be the two. They look like the two best teams in the NFL right now. People go, oh, prisoner of the moment. Dude, what are you talking about? I mean, are you watching the games? The Rams have won 4 straight. The Seahawks have won 4 straight. Maybe prisoner of the month. Are you paying attention? Do you watch football? Oh, man, dude, look who they're playing. Yeah, they're playing the Niners. What are you talking about? The Niners before the game were 6-3. Shut up, fake social media person. All right, Rams offense led by Stafford, unstoppable. Mac Jones, here's what's crazy. Mac Jones played really well, and they still lost by double digits. Rams using tight ends all over the place, 13 personnel, 3 of them, and very successfully. Devontae Adams is on his way to a big day. Before that, they're calling it an oblique injury.
Washington, they struggled without Jaden Daniels. Another 44-22 game, losing to the Lions at home.
And that was a scoregami, right?
I don't know if that was a scoregami or not.
I think I saw that it was a scoregami. So, think about that. It's never happened before, and it happens back-to-back games. That seems crazy. I mean, absolutely. 2 of the 3 games in the late were all 44. Were both 44-22. The biggest news of that game is that Dan Campbell took over play calling duties. So obviously they looked a lot better, and we'll see whether or not that continues. Jahmyr Gibbs is electric. The Washington defense could not stop the Lions offense. Deron Payne gets kicked out for a right hook against Amon-Ra St. Brown. I thought Mariota was okay, but certainly not enough if their defense is going to play that poorly.
44-22 is not scoregami. 36-29 was Texans Jaguars. That's probably what you were seeing.
No, there must be a fake or wrong scoregami account, because I saw it say it, and I saw some guy repost and say this account's totally gone to crap, because I guess it was wrong.
Yeah. The official website said Raiders Chiefs in 1967 was the first instance of that score. And we'll wrap things up with the Chargers. They beat the Steelers handily in prime time, 25-10.
What a bad game for the Steelers. You know, the only reason why they beat the Colts last week is the 6 turnovers. The Steelers' offense is in a bad way. They are horrendous on offense. I mean, they're hard to watch. Now, kudos to Aaron Rodgers. He said after the game, I played horrible. I would agree, Aaron. I mean, the Chargers' offense wasn't really that much better. Herbert was under duress the entire game, as usual. But they got enough from Kamani Vidal, Ladd McConkey. Keenan Allen broke Antonio Gates' record for receptions, which is cool. I don't know. I don't know if it was good Chargers D or bad Steelers offense, but it was not good. What is good is power rankings tomorrow, college draft podcast today, even money betting podcast tomorrow. Please tune in tonight if you get a chance. Westwood1sports.com. Other than that, I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. Told you guys for a while, it's the best holiday gift. Please consider getting one. And then I will automatically send you a signed autograph in the mail. By the way, we had winners at the end of Saturday's show, if you guys listened or watched youtube.com/RossTuckerNFL to the Saturday sit down, I announced some winners. So go back and listen or watch if it could be you. And you could be an automatic winner if you go to myfrontpagestory.com, backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.